So, with your experience, what advice would you give somebody or a leader or a team who is navigating or who will be navigating the next couple of years, the recession for the first time, right? It's a new world in a way, but at the same time, there can be lessons which can be drawn from the past. So, what would you tell such a leader who is struggling to deal with all of these complexities?
I think you've got to let your team see the human side of you as much as possible. You've got to build tolerance in the team, respect and kindness and support of each other. Get the team not to sweat the small stuff and have a bit of fun, right? Try not to let the pressure get to that point where people are at that flash point. And of course, there's an important part that all the individuals have to take that on themselves as well, right? You can foster that environment. I think the other factor, you've got to take those checkpoints, those temperature assessments and checkpoints of the team, the market, listen relentlessly to what your customers are telling you, record it meticulously and literally weekly, as we do now as a team. Reflect internally, okay, what worked this week? What didn't work? Where did we miss? What did we mess up on? What needs to change? How do we iterate? And just make sure that we are relevant as regularly as we can without becoming disorganized. And just continuously make sure that you are reading the signals in the right way. And I think you have to be prepared to be quite flexible in your beliefs and say, okay, we've felt quite resolute that this was the direction, but the data is telling us that it's incorrect. What's the lucid alternative? And then start to reformulate things. And if you see something's definitely failing, sail fast and redirect resources into a better researched alternative. But there's no magic crystal ball, right? You can take all the data that comes in. You can obviously listen to your colleagues intently, and you can listen to your customers intently. But I think also foster that environment of excitement.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's the human part, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve, I always have. I'm not perfect. Yeah, like all of us, I make my mistakes, but I try very hard to be kind and to be constructive, right? And yes, there are times, trust me, I can stand my ground when I need to, but it is challenging in this world. There's so many pressures on folks. Especially now, I think 2.5 challenging pressurized years of COVID. And now we're coming out into an environment which looks pretty interesting. That doesn't mean that you've got to be weak, right? You can be kind without being weak, right? And you're going to have to be resolute in certain things. And everybody needs to pull their weight, of course, and the outcomes are important. But unfortunately, that does require a certain level of impact and commitment. Until we have, robots that can do what we do, that'll be the case.
Absolutely. Just like standing your ground is an act of courage. Sometimes asking for help or being flexible is not weak. It's actually an act of courage to be vulnerable and really share that you don't have everything in control, as others might want to believe. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, right?
And that's hard as a leader, right? I mean, many times, and it also depends on the environment you're in, right? I've been in both very large companies and startups. I've done 2 of my own startups. Unfortunately, in many big corporations, or let's say historical corporations, showing weakness would have not helped your career for sure.
Yeah.
And it depends what context of weakness, of course. But I think that being human is something that we probably haven't focused on enough.